Hello everyone. Today I wanted to talk about the mobile strategy game called Sengoku Fubu. Since this game is most popular in Japan, I've noticed that information about this game in English was quite difficult to find and limited. To remedy that, I decided to create this video resource and I will split it into chapters. And what I will do is go through the numerous systems in the game, explain how they work in English, and give you some tips I've learned over my months playing this game. So you will have some kind of reference material if you don't understand the system or if you want to go back and hear it explained, you can check out this video and jump to the chapter that you need. I will also give a short introduction to the game if you're just starting out, maybe some tips, and maybe some gameplay at the end if the video is not too long. We'll see. And so first, what is this game? Sengoku Fubu is a game where you take on the role of a warlord in the Sengoku era of Japan. The game is played in matches, and these matches can last anywhere between maybe 30 minutes to several days. Though personally, I've never had it last more than 2 days when you start in the evening, and then there's the safety period overnight, when it's very difficult or even impossible, depending on when you started the match, to expand, and then end it the next morning usually. Most of the time, if you start in the morning, though, it'll end within an hour or maybe a few hours at most. Each match you start with a castle, and your goal is to expand and conquer or unify Japan. And to do this, you fight other players along the way or form alliances and so on. After the match is finished, you go back to the main screen where you can access all the progression systems, upgrade your generals, and so on. And the next match you start, you go back in time and you start again and you try to conquer again. So Japan is the battlefield which you can conquer over and over each match. So the closest game, and I use the term close very loosely here, the closest game would probably be Risk, at least in terms of unit movements and conquest, though that's about where the similarities end, as you have much more control over the outcome here and much more tactics you can do here compared to Risk rather than just rolling dice. If you've tried the game already, you probably saw that the game keeps introducing all the new progression systems, and it can be quite overwhelming. So what I will do is I'll go over everything, well, most things you can see here on the screen, and explain all of them. So the first button we should look at is probably your profile. So let's start here. Here you can see some basic information about your account, some accolades related to diplomacy, conquest, and so on. And so the important things to note here are the daily stratagem packs, which you should claim every day, the level, which determines the maximum level of your units, and the title bar. Now, titles in this game is a very important concept. It serves as both your rank for matchmaking, kind of like gold, silver, platinum in other games or something like that, and also unlocks your in-game progression systems, which can not just actually progression systems, but also gameplay mechanics as well, which can not only increase your power, but also change how the game is played significantly. So, for example, reaching Samurai General, which is here. Reaching Samurai General unlocks troop systems. Before you unlock it, all troops are the same default type, and they have no bonuses against each other. They don't affect the game. Once you unlock it, it not only creates an extra layer of progression through troop gear, but also creates rock paper scissors type counters between units and other effects depending on the troop type you choose. The staff system unlocked in Shoshi rank unlocks additional abilities for commanders and for your armies, which can help you patch up the weak spots or empower your army. Now, Daishi unlocks wounded units, which actually many people underutilize. Essentially, it makes it so that some of the units that die in combat instead become wounded, which gives you an extra resource of troops if you use it wisely. And of course, if you keep going all the way to Daifu, it unlocks a massive feature, which is the awakening skills. This is not exactly a progression system, this is a new mechanic which completely changes how your units work and the team building aspect and what works with what. Because instead of your units just having the ougi skills, which they can cast once their ougi bar is full, kind of like a mana bar, it gives each unit an additional awakening skill. And these can have all kinds of triggers, and they trigger even outside the unit's turn, such as whenever a unit is healed or shielded, or trigger at the start of the turn, or others, making the synergies much stronger but also much more complex and changing which units can synergize which other ones. Now, one tip I would give about the ranks is that you should probably aim to reach Shonagon as soon as possible, since it's the best rank for long-term growth. Reaching it unlocks all the main long-term growth systems, so you're not missing out on any resources or anything like that. Like, for example, you can't get troop gear before you get Shoshi, or you can't get what else? Heritage armor before you reach Shonagon. So Shonagon is a good rank to sit for a while to build up your power. And it's also a rank which is still relatively easy to complete daily quests, because once you reach Daifu, there's rank decay. So people are trying much harder in this one, and you have to eliminate players to stay in Daifu rank. Meanwhile, in Shonagon, people are much more relaxed, and you will often even see people just joining to complete the daily tasks and then saying in all chat that, I've disarmed, you can take over my castles, I've done my quest. And this can be quite helpful, honestly. Now, coming back to the main menu, you can see some other buttons. So next I will go over quests. There are battle pass quests, which are quite self-explanatory. They just give you standard battle pass points. And there are the other weekly quests, main quests, and so on. Main quests you should just aim to do when you can, and don't be afraid to skip cinematics, since you can always rewatch them later in the favorites here, in the favorites menu. So don't worry about that, focus on completing them, and you can skip the cinematic if it's a tense situation in the game. Merit quests are weekly quests which you complete to get merit chests, which give you war souls, basic recruit tickets, ghost amulets, which I will explain later, and silver, and what's it called? The silver currency, which is useful for buying all kinds of progression materials. Next, you have the weekly quests. So in the weekly quests, the important part is here, the progression part. You see it has up to 800 points, and you can have up to 7 weekly quests. Each gives 100 points for a total of 700 points. And there are also the minor quests, which give in total 330 points, or if you don't have the VIP, 300 points. So if you don't have VIP, it makes for a total of 1000 points, out of which you need 800 to get the maximum rewards. Which means if you intend to complete all the minor quests, and they're usually easy to complete if you play the game, then you can basically cancel 2 of the main quests. So feel free to do that if you find a very difficult one, or one that requires too much investment. For example, I always cancel the quest if I get the use 10 fast construction stratagems, because you don't get those from stratagem packs, so you would have to research them manually, which is a big opportunity cost from researching others, for example. Next, you have And also the most important here, honestly, is this one, the 600 point reward, which is 200 koban, which is premium currency, which is difficult to obtain otherwise. Next, you have side quests, which are similar to main quests in that you just complete it. It gives you a cinematic, so it gives you a reward. Aim to try to complete them. Next are the exploit quests, and these are really important, so I will talk about them separately a bit more. They unlock from one of the higher ranks, actually, Daishi. I think it's Daishi, if I'm not mistaken. As a new player, you will actually have also a set of beginner quests you should aim to complete. And in these beginner quests, actually, you will find the quest to spend exploit points. So the exploit points are from this rank, and they are not mentioned anywhere else in the game. So if you were confused what are the exploit points, you just need a higher rank to unlock the exploit shop for it. And next I will talk about the exploit quests, as they are very important. They give you a lot of resources to obtain materials which are difficult to obtain otherwise, and so I will talk about them separately. They unlock from one of the high ranks, maybe Daishi if I'm not mistaken. And actually, one thing I should mention is that as a new player, you will also have a set of one-time beginner quests you should aim to complete, as they give very good rewards. And within these quests, one of the tasks will be to spend exploit points. So if you're a beginner and you haven't reached Daishi, you will not find any mention of the exploit points anywhere else in the game. And I actually even asked my clanmates if they knew what it meant, but all the clanmates are Japanese, so the translation is different, so they were just confused. So this is what the exploit points refer to. So if you are confused where the exploit points come from, they come from these exploit quests here, which you need a higher rank to unlock. So if you don't have this shop, you just need a higher rank. Now, I mentioned these are very important, and that's because they have some very valuable things you can buy weekly. Both the quests and the shop refresh weekly. So I will give you some recommendations of what to buy here, loosely in order of priority, but not entirely. You should definitely aim to buy the Pinnacle Recruit tokens every week. Oh, I can't show you which ones, but these at the bottom left, as you can see. And also the Rhyme of Pinnacle in the top right over here. These can help you upgrade your basically strongest characters and unlock breakthrough skills for them and exclusive weapons for your Pinnacle heroes, so they are very important. After this, here in the bottom middle part, you can see I think they're called military records. These are very important, very nice, very helpful to unlock staff skills and to upgrade them, which are very useful. On the bottom left here, you can see the ougi secret scrolls. These are used to upgrade your special skills, and they are very useful because you can't get them basically any other way, or very little in other ways. And here in the top right, also the special skill inheritance pills, which you also cannot get in any other way, and they are very useful for getting the correct special skills on the correct units that you want. So these are very important. In the top left here, also the Saihai, which are used to unlock formations. Also very good, since formations are global buffs that basically buff all of your squads and are not tied to any units, so they transfer very nicely. Beyond that, I would also recommend in the bottom middle here the Shadow Sparks, since they are difficult to obtain otherwise, and in the middle top here the formation flags, since they also upgrade your formations. These other items, they're also quite nice, but most of them you can earn in different ways, or you don't really need all that many of them, or some of them you only need a little bit. For example, in the top right here, the scrolls that unlock special skills, these are very good, and you should buy them at the start. But once you have the special skills unlocked, and you can unlock them quite fast, they will not be all that useful. Once you have enough special skills, you need the pills more at the bottom right here to swap them around to the correct units. So that's about it here. And let's go back to the quests. And in the quests, next are the Glorious Past quests. And these are basically just monthly quests. They give you 2 objectives or 1 objective at a time. And they show you all the potential objectives. You just need to complete 8. It'll give you some tokens for some roles. It's pretty simple, self-explanatory. And then the last 2 are the Ukiyo-e quests, which you should really try to complete every week. They are not difficult to complete, and the Ukiyo-e are also very, very important. The same as formations, as they give you global buffs. The formation duties are a little bit more difficult to complete, but still try to complete them every week. Basically, if you see you're losing, or if you just logged in to do the weekly quests, it just requires you to spend your resources before you lose, basically, or win. So try to do that. And I think that's about it for quests. And next, actually, since I've started explaining the shop already a little bit with the exploit shop, let's go back here and explain the rest. I'll first explain all the special shops, since you're probably familiar with the basic shop already. There's the spark shop. This is why I said the shadow sparks are important, since you can get some really good effects here. Actually, I will give you a small tip here. You should look for the lifesteal spark if possible. If you put that on a strong unit, it can be very useful for taking castles which have someone's AFK, for example, and left 25,000 units with no generals. It makes it very easy to take those. You just send 1 unit with the lifesteal spark on them, and they will not run out of health until they take it. And if you put it on a strong unit, it's also very nice extra sustain, and can make it your carry very hard to kill. Next is the Gorin bookstore. Here the important ones are the scrolls at the bottom left and the top right, and you should aim to buy them out every week, as they are used to upgrade and unlock the staff skills. The same as the military codexes, but they are both very limited, so you should aim to use both. The Gorin scrolls on the top left, you should pick up the free ones, but the ones for silver are a luxury item, essentially. They unlock the stat bonuses that are tied to the staff skills. It's nice to have, and if you have extra silver to spend, take it, but otherwise it's not the top priority. Next is the Renowned Hero shop. Here, make sure to pick up the free Renowned Hero souls on the left every week, but I don't recommend buying the ones for silver, since Renowned Heroes are very niche and you probably won't have many of them, especially when starting out. And honestly, the free ones are good enough for upgrading, and there are much higher priority purchases with your silver. Next is the Legion shop, and here there's one very, very important item. So the war banners you can ignore. The tokens, however, you should buy it as the top, probably the number 1 priority item every week to spend your silver. Take the free ones and take the ones for silver. The ones for Koban, I don't recommend. It's too expensive. Each one is 100, which is half of a roll on a pinnacle hero. So I would not recommend that, especially, honestly. The tokens are very useful since they give you massive stat upgrades to your main heroes. Next is the special skill store. I don't recommend buying anything here. You can buy some additional materials with premium currency, which is Oban, or for Koban. But honestly, there are much better places to spend these materials. So this is not a very efficient place, perhaps, to spend them. Although if you have a lot of money, who am I to judge? Then the Rashomon store. Here I would recommend buying just taking the free weekly ghost amulets daily ghost amulets every time. The ghost amulets are very good. They allow you to unlock SP heroes and some very strong progression materials indirectly because they allow you access to the Rashomon mode, which is what gives you all those materials. I also buy the Ghostfire daily, though this is a bit more of a luxury item, but the Ghostfire is so scarce and difficult to obtain, I feel like it's worth it. And the item on the left, it's quite nice since you can exchange it for blood gems, whatever it is. So, but it depends on where you are with blood tiers, if it's worth to buy or not, and what kind of item is on offer. The weekly ones I usually don't buy. It's not worth it, really. The Dark Mojo is not really all that good. Next is the cosmetics shop, which is self-explanatory. And then the martial arts shop. Here I just pick up all the free materials on offer and call it a day. And then you have the basic shop, you probably know it. You refresh it, you get basic materials. What I would recommend buying here are these scrolls that cost 5,000 silver and they give 10,000 silver, so buy them every time. And other than that, I don't recommend buying any of the items for Koban. As for the other items, I would say buy the purple items at first and the orange items. Since many of your units will probably be using purple items for a while, and orange items, you probably don't want to use them too much since you will replace them with the orange weapons with exclusive weapons, and the orange armors with heritage armors later. And you need the orange equipment as sacrificial material to obtain many of those or to upgrade them and so on. So they're useful picking up for that, but you don't want to, paradoxically, don't want to use them on the units too much since you want to sacrifice them. So the purple armors, especially upgraded ones and weapons, can serve as a good placeholder material until you get the exclusives. And of course, aim to refresh it as much as possible until the 10-hour limit so you can have the maximum intimacy, which will increase the offered goods, of course. And then finally, the mysterious shop, it just appears once in a while. I usually just buy the orange item here and call it a day. So that's the shop. Next, let's make a quick stop in the favorite section. Here you can see the storyline, rewatch the storyline stuff, as I told you before. But the more important thing here is that you can check all the kinds of available items. And the most important is here, the feats, where you can earn some extra bonus materials. That's about it from doing some kind of achievements. That's about it for this one. Next, let's get to the meat and potatoes of the video, so to speak, and that is the progression systems. And here I will show you some of my heroes and explain what you can see. You can click on a hero, you can click this helmet icon to see some more detailed stats, and then you can see the hero type, which is either intellect, strength, or omni. Intellect just means they use stratagem damage, and you should boost stratagem damage, which is S damage. And then physical means physical damage, and omni usually means, at least for orange heroes, that they don't scale with either, and usually it's for supports or something like that who just have really strong buffs or something like that. And then after that, you can see the XP. The reserved XP is shared between all units, and you can, as you earn it during the match by conquering castles, killing troops, and so on, it just accumulates, and you can distribute it how you want it to all your units. The maximum hero level, as I mentioned, for example here, it's 38. It's the same as my hero level, and I think it goes up to 55 at max rank, and it's also determined by your rank. actually, and that's about it. Next, you can see the equipment, and this is why I said not to get too attached to orange weapons, since you will want to replace them with exclusives, which, as you can see, are much, much stronger, especially when upgraded, and you can upgrade them to much higher levels. And the same goes for armor, and you'll want heritage armor, which, as you can see, has much stronger effects and bonuses. And also normal horses you'll want to replace with the glorious steeds, which have a bonus effect as well. So for example, you can see I have as much as 24% extra, and this is raw 24% insofar as I know, extra crit rate on a character on which the crit is very, very good. Final is the T-Wear. T-Wear provides some nice bonuses, but I would not recommend spending too many resources on them, since it's difficult to obtain the optimal ones, and honestly there are higher priorities. Just make sure that the main units you use have some kind of T-Wear with a few upgrades that match your main stats, and you'll be good to go for a long while at least. Finally, you see the star rating. Star rating, as you increase it, provides well, you use War Soul to increase it, and it provides a stat buff for each star rating, and also besides this pretty large stat buff, you get these massive bonuses. So see, at 1 star rank, it gives as much as 30% extra attack, which is a lot, right? So it's very important to upgrade your units to 5 stars, and also once it reaches 5 stars, they can be awakened, at least if you reach the Daifu. Shronagon, I cannot awaken it, but if I reach Daifu, I could awaken it, right? Of course, pinnacle heroes like this one here are an exception. You can't really awaken them. I think if I click here, it shows like nothing. But let me check. Yamauchi, for example, if I click awaken, you can see the awakening cost and what it will give and so on. So there's a difference here. But the pinnacle heroes, instead of awakening, they have the breakthrough. And the good point is, and why pinnacle heroes are so strong, is that they do not require the Daifu rank. It means like in Shonagon and lower ranks, the only ones that have the awakening, in quotes, awakening skills, though they're called breakthrough skills, are the pinnacle heroes, which is why they're so amazingly strong, especially in lower levels. So while other units are just casting their ougi skills, each unit casting a skill like from once per turn if it's a very fast unit, up to once every few turns if the maximum ougi is free and it doesn't have any hearten or encourage effects. My Takeda Shingen, you see his skill after any ally casts an ougi skill. So it can, including himself, so he can cast the skill up to 6 times per turn, which is amazing, and doesn't even use his turn anyway. So you can see why pinnacle heroes are so strong. The resource you need to upgrade these or unlock these, both the breakthrough skills and these passive bonuses, is obtained by exchanging Rime of Pinnacle in the Pinnacle Hero Recruitment Exchange Shop. And how you get Rime of Pinnacle is either by rolling Pinnacle Recruit tickets, or from events, or from the exploit shop, mainly. Now, whether you should focus everything on one hero or split it between several heroes depends on what kind of pinnacle hero you get. So for example, if you get something that's really powerful as a solo hero like Ashikaga Yoshiteru, you can just focus first on unlocking both his breakthrough skill and his passives, because he's a one-man army. He can solo whole 6-unit squads by himself, right? But if you get more combo-focused heroes like Takeda Shingen that I have, then perhaps it's better to focus to first unlock all the breakthrough skills on them, like I have here, and then focus on the others later as the need arises, on the other passive upgrades as the need arises, right? So for example, I unlocked this passive because to deal with some of the counters to Takeda Shingen. So I could have hidden so he doesn't get sniped immediately, and immune to provoke, which is, there is one hero which has the provoke mechanic, which negates a lot of the carries. So this is to deal with that. But these are more luxury upgrades, especially if you're just starting out, once you have resources to spare. Now, besides the pinnacle heroes, there are also renowned heroes who also have a similar stat. Maybe I can show you here. You see renowned heroes, but for them these are just stat bonuses, and this is where you spend the renowned thing from the shop. Now, moving on, let's move to the next section. Moving on, in this section you can check out the skills of the heroes. So for pinnacle heroes you see many, but this is just these are the same as you saw in the breakthrough skill tree. Essentially there are the ougi skills, which every hero has, and they just have these little bars which upon charging up they release the skill on their next turn. And then there are the breakthrough, or for the other heroes, the awakening skills, which have their own different cast mechanics. And one interesting thing with the ougi skills are it's very important to take into account if there's encourage or hearten effects, because these restore the ougi skills. So for example, Yamauchi here, he casts his skill every turn, so he doesn't do basic attacks, for example. So anything that increases his basic attack is pretty much useless for him, right? And he also combos well with Takeda Shingen here, for example, because he casts the ougi skill every turn. So it triggers Takeda Shingen's breakthrough every turn as well, right? And the breakthrough skills and the awakening skills I've already explained. And next would be the combo section. Here you can see if there's some kind of combo which gives extra stats if both of the heroes are present on the battlefield. For example, if both of these are on the battlefield, there will be 20% extra damage buff, right? It does keep in mind that if the heroes are in backup, this doesn't trigger. They need to be on the battlefield, or if one of them dies, it also the other one loses the effect as well. Next is the Legion system. I'll go back here to show it. So the next section are the staff, the Legion system, I mean. And the Legion system is split into two sections, which are staff skills and the backup heroes. So first, for the staff skills, here you can assign, you need to assign other orange rarity heroes as staff, and then you need to go here, and instead of upgrade button there will be make staff, which will cost 2 of these scrolls, which will give you a random staff skill from the list. Now this doesn't do anything by itself, and for a hero to actually activate a staff skill, which you can see here, you see at level 1 does nothing. You need the staff skill to first at least be level 2. And the other thing is that you need all 3 staff to have the matching staff skill, and only then will the staff skill activate. So for example, in this case, my Takeda Shingen has the thieving skill at level 3, and you can see what it does here. It's here, reduces healing, increases my lifesteal, stuff like that, right? Now, staff skills are very important, and they also, besides the staff effects, they also have one other small section which you can check when you click tweak. And once you select a hero, it will show you these stat bonuses. It will be empty like at the bottom one here, and you can use the Gorin scrolls or military records as well, actually, to reroll these stat bonuses. And the stat bonuses match how many levels you have on your stat skill. So for example, this guy has thieving level 4, so I can have 4 different stat bonuses. Stat bonuses also have different star ratings, and so yeah, you want to upgrade these as well eventually. But this is more of a luxury item, let's call it that, right? The other thing you can see here is the replace button. This is to reroll a skill on a hero. But I don't recommend doing this unless you really already have all of your, let's call them useless, though that's a bit harsh, but let's call the ones that you don't want to use. Unless you make them all staff first, don't try to first do that, because you may want to have different kinds of staff skills available for different squads, right? So for example, you see I unlocked for all these 9 heroes different staff skills before I started rerolling, and I just got randomly the price of blood, the whole free combo. So I could put it on someone, right? And I only started rerolling after the last one because I got 2 thievings from the many staff I have unlocked, and I only had to reroll the last one, right? It's more efficient that way. The other one is the backup system. So the backups heroes for Takeda Shingen, they don't do much. If I added a backup hero, it would just give 10% of his basic stats to Takeda Shingen, right? However, if the heroes have combo potential, I'll show you what I mean. So for example, here, this hero has some combo heroes, right? If I put one of the combo heroes as the backup hero here, then it would trigger a weaker effect of the combo just by this hero being on the field by himself, because the backup hero is partially counted like being on the field, so it gives you part of the combo bonus. And next, for the supporter system, and the supporter system is very similar to the backup hero system. Once you put supports on a hero, they are basically relegated to being stat boosts, and they give 10% of their stats. They also transfer 10% of any item stats that you have. So you have spare items, you could put them on the support heroes of your main heroes. So much as the backup heroes transfer some of their combo effect to the backed up hero, supports transfer 20% of their martial arts training bonuses to the supported hero. However, I would say the priority should be to upgrade the martial arts of your main heroes themselves first, as much as possible, since that is much more efficient, since you get the 100% of the martial arts training in that case for the hero. And only once you have maxed out the martial arts and the breakthroughs and all that, then you can consider martial arts trainings to get that extra 20% from them. 40% in total, I guess. But that's much more expensive. The supporter development you can see in the top left here, it's a little bit misleading. These upgrades you can get for your heroes using tokens you get from the special token shop. These offer massive stat buffs. As you can see, each one costs 3 tokens and gives 90 attack and 90 stratagem attack, right? Or here it gives 30 stratagem attack and 60 stratagem defense. These are very big, and I would recommend getting the basic ones at least. The last one you can hold off a little longer because it's much more expensive, and the effects are not that relevant for a starting hero. They're more like for rounding out your already very strong and maxed out hero once the more priority stats are up to par so they can fight comparably to the others. And you can see these tabs: Vanguard, left wing, center, right wing. These are also a little bit misleading. They are not support to the positions, they are just flavor text, and they just are tabs that separate the different boosts. And once you upgrade them, you don't need to choose between them. Also, they're just activated and they're active for the hero. They're not tied to the supporters, by the way. If you change the supporters, the supporter development stat boosts will remain and you don't have to worry. Yes, so that's about the supporters. net and the martial arts. By the way, the martial arts are very important to break through. The orange material is very rare to and difficult to get, so if you see it during an event, prioritize it as, I would even say, #1 priority probably. Moving to the next section is the troop type section. These can only be selected before starting a game, and you can't change them once you do. There is a very expensive item which allows you to change them during a fight, but that's only for very high level plays and not very relevant in this case, I think, for you. So you always want to select a troop type, I'll be honest. The troop type, even if it costs some, it'll make it so that when you assign troops to the general, it'll cost some coins. But since coins are an abundant resource, it's not a very meaningful detriment. It's much more worth it to have the bonus. Each hero can select from different types of units that have special effects, and different heroes have different sets. And once you select a troop type, you will also see a troop gear slot, right? And these can give both additional stat boosts and other useful effects. So in my case, you see on my Takeda Shingen, I have the Blazing Flame Cannon, and I've upgraded it to +6. And not only does it give me massive stat buffs, it also gives me +1 starting ougi when entering the fight, allowing to cast his powerful but expensive ability that much faster, which can be very important. And if you enchant it even further, it starts giving even more effects. We can check. For example, if I went all the way to level 14, it would give him the wall buff, which is a massive defensive stat buff. It would increase his stratagem damage by percentage and so on, right? So these are very important and very nice to have. Next section is the lore. Here it's mostly nothing much important here. Once you raise intimacy enough with a hero, you get the special border. You can see on some of my heroes. And the other thing to note here is the hero wish, which many heroes have, which is just a small quest which gives you a small 500 war soul reward once you complete it one time. After this, the next section are shadows. These are split into shadows themselves, which give stat growth, which is a little bit also misleading as they are applied retroactively, meaning, for example, this shadow that gives +1 int growth is giving my Takeda Shingen 38 extra intelligence, even though I applied the shadow once my hero was already like level 30 or so. The other part is the spark. The spark is the thing here you can see. Yes, that one. And these can have additional useful effects. In this case, I have applied Life Seal to it, so I can send him to take castles solo by himself. And it also provides him a little bit of extra sustain. It's very nice. Higher tier sparks unlock at higher ranks. You can see I could at Shonagon I can equip up to tier 2 sparks. And one more thing to explain with the shadow system. Here in my shadow screen, you'll find quick finish or finishing and recombinations. Recombinations is very simple. You can just combine the different shadows to just get the bigger boost for up to +1 without any cost or really detriment. So I recommend doing that for your strong heroes. The other one is finishing. You can see if I click finish, and if I selected one of them, okay, I'll show you what it does. If I click quick finish, it will give me Shadow Soul, right? But usually you don't want to do that unless you have a lot to spare, right? Or you really want a little bit of extra Shadow Soul to unlock that cool spark that you need. The final tab are the special skills, and you use the special skill scrolls to unlock them. And the number of slots you have available depends on your rank. Shonagon has 3 available slots, which you see I've unlocked. I've filled all of them. It provides, once you have a skill, it provides 2 things: the skill effect itself and the small stat benefit. So you can see base stat overview. These are the small stats that my special skills are giving, and the echo stat is the special skill itself, what it gives, right? In my case, I have the detonation skill, 3 of them, and they combine to give the skill effect that increases the damage of my ougi skill crits. As for the stat benefits, keep in mind that each slot has a different pool of potential stat benefits. You can't have, for example, the plus damage. You can't have plus damage on every single slot, right? And as for upgrading, you see the echo is level 3, so this skill is level 3, and it's just the combined level of all your skills. If I click enhance, you can see if it's currently 6 out of 8 because the combined level of my skills is of the same skill is 6, and I would have to make it 8 for the special skill to go to tier 4, for example, right? That's how this works. Usually it's better to just have one skill. You'll see on some other heroes I have the several skills, for example, but this is because I haven't gotten around to swapping them around enough to untangle and give each of them the optimal skill that they need. So it has the 2 effects, sure, but they're both weaker. It's better to just have the combined stronger effect, right? And that's the final hero progression system. So with the hero growth systems finished, we go to the other growth systems, which are the formations and the Ukiyo-e. So first I'll explain the formations. These are very important. They unlock the formation button on your main screen unlocks only after you reach the required rank, and they provide a general stat boost and a special effect for the whole team, and also different additional stat boosts for different positions, right? Here you can see, for example, this position in the middle back for the circle formation gives attack, and all the other positions, they provide defense, right? So this is the circular formation, for example, is good for the one carry, and all the other supports or defenders or secondary DPS, right? So for example, I place my Takeda Shingen in position 5 and place everyone else around him. It's good for my kind of setup, but different kinds of formations are better for different setups, right? The circular formation provides balanced stats in general, as you can see here, and it provides defense at the start of the fight, but there are other formations that do other things, so you should check which one you want to focus on based on the heroes you have and what you lack, so you could cover your weaknesses or enhance your power, your strengths even more. One more thing to note about the formations, you need to obtain them, you need either the Sai-Hai for these, this, and this one, the serpent, the crane, or the whatever this is, the first one is. For the others, you can use the war fans you get from the weekly quests. So for upgrading the formations, first I suggest just picking one which you can upgrade with war fans. They are all very good, so you're not missing out on anything really. But you'll be able to upgrade it that much faster if you use both war fans and the Sai-Hai on the same formation. You'll be able to upgrade the others in the future anyway. And the other system that gives bonuses to your whole team are the Ukiyo-e. These are especially trading cards that are split into sets of 4. Individually, the cards give you a stat boost for your whole team. So for starting out, you just want to fill out all 6 slots, right? After you have all 6 slots, at least one card in all 6 of the slots, you want to work on getting a set of 4 and a set of 2, because you can have 6 cards. And the sets work like this. Each set is consists of 4 cards, and the set has 2 mini sets or combos, as the game calls them. So if you have both of the combo cards, they trigger the combo effect, and then if you have all 4 cards, they unlock the Ukiyo-e skill, right? So if you have the set, it unlocks 2 combo effects and 1 Ukiyo-e skill, and you want the 1 extra combo from another set, ideally, right? So in my case, I have the Back to Izu and the Haunted Wreck, and they trigger a combo for me, which is reducing the damage from skills by 3%. And if you have the 4, let me see, I wanted to show you, for example, where was it? For example, Stargazing, right? At level 1, it only gives Hearten, which is 1 ougi, to 1 random ally. However, if you were to upgrade to 5, it would give it to 3 allies, then apply Seal to 3 enemies, preventing them from casting ougi skills, and also apply Charge, which is a big damage buff to your 3 heroes. So as you can see, the upgrades are very, very strong, and the upgrades come from getting duplicates of cards, which increases the level of those cards, and eventually increases the level of the skill, as you can imagine. So you really want to focus on just 1 set, if possible, and then 2 more from another set. Now, you can't do that exactly. So I will mention this. You can put here in the Ukiyo shards in your backpack, you can put up to 8 skills. So I recommend putting 2 combos here. So, and since we're at the growth section, I will mention this briefly. The growth section is basically also, or actually it includes at least some more shops for the growth materials. So in the T-ware, and if you go to the shop, you can obtain T-wares here, or rolls for them, which is called craft. And then for forge, you can obtain exclusive weapons, and you get these by breaking down your orange weapons, as you can see. And it's actually quite efficient. You get free materials from 1 orange weapon, and unlocking an exclusive weapon only costs 4. So you exchange it to exclusive weapons in a pretty efficient rate. Keep in mind with exclusive weapon rolls, the region of the week at the top here. In this case, it's Okan. And so if you want the exclusive weapons of a particular orange hero, you should double check if it's even available this week so you don't waste your rolls, right? Meanwhile, for pinnacle heroes, the exclusive weapons have to be unlocked in the Pinnacle Exchange Shop, and for SP heroes, the exclusive weapons have to be crafted through the crafting. Actually, I can show you. Here, gear, and then here you need the material, which is I guess it's the blueprint, and you can craft it by using 15 of the exclusive roll materials, or whatever they are called. For upgrading the exclusive weapons, especially the pinnacle exclusive weapons, keep in mind that it's better to don't put all of your orange weapons into quenching here, and instead save them for the blacksmith event, which is a recurring event where you can smelt down the orange weapons to get points, which allow you to upgrade the pinnacle weapons directly. Because otherwise, to upgrade the exclusive weapons, I'll show you, the success rate is really low, and the blacksmith event allows you to get a guaranteed one. The next growth section is the heritage armor, and for heritage armor crafting, it's also more efficient to wait for a gearsmith event, since it requires 1 less of each orange armor to craft the heritage armor in that case, And also you can pick the heritage armor you want instead of getting a random one. The only downside of the Gearsmith event is that then it costs 200 Koban. So it depends on your Koban situation. Next are Glorious Steeds. Ideally you want to get the Spectral Steeds since they are the most powerful. So eventually you want to spectralize and then do this, select and exchange. But until then, you can just use the normal ones. Next are shadows. I don't recommend spending silver here. It gives you free rolls per week, and there are higher priority progress systems to spend silver. Likewise, using Shadow Spark in the meditation room is not worth it. It's better to use it in the Spark shop, since what you get is much more reliable than rolling the dice. And next is the Troop Gear shop. You want to take the free roll in the shop and also the rolls you get for blood tiers, if possible. And finally, the SP chests. I don't really recommend using these because spending blood tiers will give you blueprints for heritage armor, spectral steeds, and similar things. But the rates to get a full one and not just fragments are quite low. And I would really recommend to just use the blood tiers instead on just the troop gear and the SP hero recruitment. Even if you already have the SP hero you want, you need to keep rolling in the SP hero recruitment to obtain the ghost fire. So that's the final main progression system. And with all of them out of the way, let's look at the remaining gameplay elements. Stratagems, you probably already know how they work. You research them, it increases the cooldown, as you can see. I usually research Forced March. It's the cheapest, and you can get a lot of them, and you use a lot of them. Impressments, I mean, I use only on rare occasions. They are quite precious. Mostly I use them to cover troop positioning mistakes if the enemy sends units to a castle that I didn't expect and I really need to defend there, or to replenish a squad to fighting shape so it can retain its combo, things like that. They are a precious resource. You can only use 40 of them, so only use them when you are going for the win, or if you need to use one or two to allow you to complete weekly quests or something like that. Harvests are also very useful, and you should use them sparingly because it's very easy to waste them. For example, due to the way the nighttime protection works, it's very easy to spend like 40 harvests by accident if you send your units 1 minute after the nighttime protection starts, since the provision costing is increased 10 times. Mostly I use them when I see I can finish out the game and ran out of just a little bit of provisions, right? Coin boosts are not that useful. You'll usually not run out of coins. They are very easy to manage, and the building upgrades are not that important, honestly. You do upgrade the buildings, but mostly for the quests or the bonuses they give for long fights. And the rest you do need to keep some coin for the army, yeah. But they are easy to manage, as I said. Fast construction is very niche, not really useful at all. Fortification is quite useful for when you need a little bit of defense or when you get a quest to build a level 4 castle. Healing does essentially the same as impressions and is quite underrated, especially at lower levels. Unlike impressments, however, it does not have the 40 per match limit. However, it does require wounded units, so you can't drop it anywhere randomly. If you're having a close fight, then maybe sometimes it's useful to use to quickly replenish your troops to give you an edge in close games. And finally, the joint defense is it's nice to have a few of them if there's like a crucial defense point in an alliance or something like that. Going through the rest of the systems, I recommend joining a clan. It gives access to an extra clan shop, which gives you useful resources, and also additional weekly clan quests, which give a little bit of extra resources. Keep in mind, joining a clan, you need to wait 2 weeks before you can access the shop. So better join sooner rather than later so you can burn down the wait period. I have not seen any English clans in this game, and basically all of them are Japanese. But the players are very friendly and accepting, so don't be afraid to apply to one. Also, there's the translate feature if you click on messages, which is very useful for communicating. The only problem is there's no translate feature on the clan announcements, so you have to manually translate them, which is a little bit of a bother. Since we're almost at the end, let's look at the items in the inventory, I mean. One important thing here is to manage your chests. You can store up to 8, and you get one each time you eliminate an enemy player, with some caveats at least. Because the longer the match goes, the less chance you have of getting a chest for killing a player. And you can get up to 3 for winning a match. So if you're close to maxing out on slots, for example, if you're at 7 chests, or if you're at 8 chests and you're about to kill someone, be sure to discard your lowest tier chests to make space for a higher tier chest. And also you can rearrange them to put your higher tier chests in the front. Also, don't forget to use your growth items, such as the silver choggin or the XP scrolls, and also the Ukiyo-e shards. With the Ukiyo-e shards especially, you should really set up the 2 main sets that you want, which you will usually get, and then keep upgrading them. Next section, let's discuss the recruitments. Starting with the normal recruitments, common recruitments can only give up to purple heroes. And since anything below orange is not very useful in combat, the primary purpose of them is to get the war souls, since the duplicates will give you war souls, and it'll basically be only duplicates after a while. You will get also 1 or 2 free advanced recruitment roles per day, depending on rank. And here you can get normal orange heroes, like this. And these can be useful, but keep in mind, if you have the advanced recruitment tickets, I advise you not to spend them here and instead go to the limited section, to the pinnacle, and here you will also be able to, even though it shows just the pinnacle tickets, you can also spend the advanced recruitment tickets on the pinnacle heroes or on the special recruitments, right? So I would recommend saving them for this, and especially early on at least. They can also be used, the advanced recruitment tickets, for the heroine or the returning and other special orange heroes, which are usually a lot stronger than the normal ones from the normal pool. Once a week also you get a 5 roll of pinnacle heroes for 50% less Koban, and honestly I suggest saving Koban for this every week. You can see it's much more efficient, gives you a lot of rhyme of pinnacle for upgrading. One more section, important section, is the SP heroes. These can be very strong and always come in sets of 4, and the set of 4 has a combo. To obtain the materials for them, you need to play the Rashomon mode, and especially these heroes can be very strong to boost your power early. Then in the middle game it's difficult to upgrade them, so they fall off a little bit since you don't have enough ghost fire, and then in the late game they become powerful once again. So be cautious how you spend ghost fire to upgrade them. It is a lot more difficult to obtain war soul, and the game allows you to exchange the ghost fire to war soul. Don't do that. And I recommend pinking 1 really strong SP hero if you get one, or save your ghost fire until you get one, and then upgrade it all the way to 5 stars first, and then focus on the next one. Returning heroes rotate 2 sets rotate every week, so if you miss one, it's not that difficult. And if you have the patience, I would recommend even saving to get a 4 squad that you like. And also, there's one thing to mention is that you get 150% off blood tier roll on the returning heroes, so that's also quite nice. I recommend doing that. It's good for accumulating ghost fire faster, if nothing else, even if you don't know if you want to roll that week. I recommend still doing it. Almost at the end, let's talk about the Rashomon mode. Since we started talking about the SP heroes, when doing Rashomon, you should do the highest rank that you can, at least that you can do reliably, picking all the enemies. So at first, it's okay to just save your ghost tickets, since spending all of them at level 1 is incredibly tedious. You'd have to run it many times. And the rewards slowly increase as the levels get higher. Also at higher levels, besides the ghost tiers, you can get materials. For example, you can get spectral steed blueprints or heritage armor blueprints and stuff like that. And once you reach a high enough level, like for example at level 6 right now, if I click this and go to free, I can spend almost all of my ghost tiers just by one Rashomon run per week. So it's much easier. Before moving on to the final tips, I will look at the events for a second. Don't be too afraid about missing an event, since most of them are recurring, so don't be afraid to save resources if you see a good one. Especially things like gearsmithing, blacksmithing, fortune telling, they all repeat at regular intervals, so if you need something from a particular event, you can always save up. There's also the weekend events and the weekend shop, which rotate through different things, and the rewards are quite good, so I recommend doing it every week. What you buy is very similar to the exploit shop. The only extra are the Gema Sakura. It's very worth it. Avoid the pottery clay, since it's much more efficient to just trade them for silver and then spend that silver in the teaware shop. So the pottery clay is kind of a trap. Buy the ghost gems, they're very good. Don't buy the white flags, it's not that worth it. It won't make you upgrade faster, and whatever you have left over, just spend it on either war soul or the silver, whichever you need more. And yeah, I won't expand into the events any other more than this, since they usually explain themselves pretty decently. Now for some final tips. So most games usually don't have some kind of best unit which people could recommend to you or something like that. However, in Sengoku Fubu, at least for the lower ranks below Shonagon or below, I would argue there actually is, at least at the moment, one best definite unit. And that is from the Pinnacle Hero list. It's where is he? One second. Ashikaga Yoshiteru, this one. He is very strong. If you end up getting lucky and rolling him, just spend all your materials to upgrade him as much as possible as a priority. Since with sufficient upgrades and the lifesteal spark, he can basically just solo everything until all the way and bring you all the way to the Daifu rank, even above Shonagon. And even there, he remains a formidable force. Though their awakening skills provide good enough combos that he's not quite as dominant anymore. There are a few other strong Pinnacle heroes you can focus on if you get them. One of them is Imagawa Yoshimoto. The reason he's strong is that he has an ougi skill which hits all enemies for 165% damage. And the thing is that he needs this passive, because this passive gives him emanation, which means that when he starts a fight, he immediately will cast his skill even though he doesn't have the ougi for it. So basically how it works is he starts a fight and he immediately nukes the whole enemy team on the first time he gets to do his action, right? So if you put sufficient damage upgrades on him, he can one-shot entire enemy teams or at least inflict very serious damage if you just send him in against a 6-unit squad. One more very strong one is Shibata Katsui. This one. His ability also deals 100% damage to all enemies and only costs 2 ougi skill. He also has the Toxic Spring effect, which is very strong and turns all enemy healing into damage received instead, and he basically applies it to the whole enemy team. He is very good as a solo unit and also very good in anti-heal focused teams, or basically most teams, since he also provides some defensive buffs. And next one, really strong one, is Tachibana Muneshige. And he's very good at killing carries since but he does need his breakthrough skill. His breakthrough skill triggers after every allied attack, and so he nukes the strongest enemy, the same enemy unit every time. He is best comboed with Date Masamune, since both of them have the light speed buff, which gives them 2 attacks per turn, and Tachibana Muneshige triggers on basic attacks, right? And what else to point out here? Oda Nobunaga, of course, is powerful as you could imagine, and not as quite as, at least the pinnacle version is not quite as powerful as the others, but he does get the Mao effect, which is also AoE, making his basic attack hit all the enemy team, and with sufficient upgrades it can also be a massive nuke. The only downside is that he needs to either cast his ougi skill to get the Mao effect, which makes it slow to come online, or have the breakthrough trigger, and which triggers off an enemy casting their ougi skill, which is quite dangerous and can leave him incapacitated depending on the enemy ougi skill. Since if you can imagine, if it's Imagawa Yoshimoto, if I remember correctly, yeah, if it's Imagawa Yoshimoto casting his ougi skill, he may not survive to take advantage of his Mao, right? One more to point out is Toyotomi Hideyoshi. Where is he? This one. This is also one of the strongest pinnacle heroes in the game, probably. He can become a nearly immortal tank with enough upgrades. I've run into one where he was very, very upgraded, and my team just fought him for 50 turns to stand still, and he kept taking very little damage and just healing to full. After 50 turns, the game calls a stalemate and repatriates the units to where they came from. Most carries suffer from being weak to from being squishy and vulnerable to debuff effects. Toyotomi has the provoke skill, which redirects everything to him. Even the AoE skills, for example, they will just cast on him instead of the whole team. So it's very, very powerful. Especially even worse if you combined with Ashikaga Yoshiteru, who's the strongest carry. So, for example, you can still kill Ashikaga Yoshiteru with some specialized tactics for killing one unit. Combine it with Toyotomi Hideyoshi, it won't work anymore. These are just some examples, but they should give you a good idea what you look for when picking a good carry to invest in, which are powerful AoE effects or abilities that come very fast and have a very easy trigger and just focus on one unit, for example, are good things to focus on. A few from SP hero list I could point out. So one is the SP Oda Nobunaga. I would say this one's even stronger than his pinnacle counterpart. His ability hits 4 enemy units for 130% damage, and his ability only costs one hit, ougi. Even better, after each cast he applies Hearten, so he just refreshes. So basically he just doesn't do any basic attacks, especially if you have him at least 3 stars where he gets initial 1 ougi, and he just spams his ability every turn. It's a very strong nuke, both for the first turn and for the sustain damage. So a very good one if you focus on your Ghostfire if you get him. Other SP heroes which are very good to focus on. The next one immediately that comes to mind is this one, Kikawa Motoharu. He hits 4 enemy units for a staggering 260% damage. This is even crazier. The only downside is this costs 2 ougi. So even if he gets the +1 initial ougi at rank 3, he will still only cast it on second turn unless you have some kind of item or something like that which would give him, or an Ukiyo-e skill which would give him an extra ougi. Also, he lacks the Hearten effect, which means that after the first cast, unless you have something like Encourage effects or Hearten effects, he may not survive to recharge to turn 3 or whenever, or turn 4 to cast it again. If you have his whole 4 squad as well combo, he does get +1 additional ougi, so that can also be something to consider. One more to point out is, where is he? Hoida Motokiya. He hits for a massive 300% damage on the lowest health enemy. Very good as a solo unit to kill other solo units. Also very good in a squad to snipe key enemy units. He also applies Hot Streak to the backline, so he casts the skill every turn, but only if he gets a kill. This is quite likely with the massive 300% bonus, but if there's a big tank or something like that, he can be shut down, so it's a little bit more situational. He also lacks the +1 ougi in his base kit, so you need to find other means to procure it, either an Ukiyo-e skill or his 4 squad combo or something like that. As for other orange heroes, there are many to cover. However, many of them struggle to compete with Pinnacle and SP heroes before Daifu rank, where they get their awakening skills. As such, until you reach Daifu, they are best for secondary squads or as units that have ougi skills that provide buffs or debuffs, and keep an eye out for the ones with really good awakening skills and save them and start upgrading them once you are close to Daifu or advanced to Daifu. So that's about it for the progression systems. As for the gameplay itself, I'll just give you a few tips I see people miss out on all the time. One is this icon when fighting of your castle in the top right. It's much easier to manage your castles, especially when you have many here. You can just upgrade your Teshukaku here, or your farms or stuff like that, and set them up to upgrade several times. Usually don't upgrade things past level 8 or 9 or whatever, depending on how many coins you have, because it becomes very long and very expensive and you don't get much. Other thing to look at is, getting attacked. So for example, if you set up, don't forget to turn on, and if you intend to leave, don't forget to turn on auto replenish after battle. This is very useful. Keep in mind though, if someone else has this and you can't take their castle, they're too strong but they're AFK, if you take all of their other castles and it's the final castle, auto replenish doesn't work in the final castle. So that's something to keep in mind. Other tips. Let me think. For example, you see my castle is getting under attack. He probably sent a quick march, 2 minutes. I can prevent it, but to do so, I would have to use the Mm, I would have to use quick march. What I can also do, or I mean impressment, what I can also do, instead of sending it here after he takes it and it'll take me 2 minutes, if I send it as a reinforcement instead, it'll only take me 30 seconds. And even if it gets there after he gets there, it'll change from reinforcement into an attack instead. As for building upgrades, I would recommend usually the ones you'll need the most are farms. The huts are not that useful since upgrading Teshukaku also increases the reserve growth, and coins also not that useful. Don't ignore them completely, build a few, but most of the time just build farms. Other mistakes I often see people make, they send full squads into like conquering neutral castles, which is not worth it since it wastes too many provisions. One more thing is scouting is very important. It helps you a lot to determine what you can attack, what you can't attack, if I should send a full squad or not. For example, here, maybe I want to send just this guy to nuke them once and inflict some damage instead, because I don't think I can kill this, honestly. It's very strong. Also, a good idea is to pick when to fight or when to not fight. So, for example, right now, yellow is very strong. I don't know if I can kill him, so perhaps it would be better to just save my stratagems. Though I could also just make it too costly to attack me uh, and make it impossible for him to win, because as you can see, he would have to spread through the entire map. So if I set a defense and keep retreating, I could make him waste all of his provisions, and since I have much more troops, if I could inflict enough damage per each attack, I could still win even if he's stronger. Or if I could force him to split his army to several units, several weaker squads I can kill, something like that. So keep in mind for all of these tactics. Choke points are also very important. If there's a weaker player who's trying to sending many attacks through all your castles, try to set up in choke points and then send a secondary squad to attack, so they can't, so they remain contained and can't spread too much. There are many more tips I could give, but since the video is already getting quite long, I will stop here for now. If you would like more tips, I can maybe make a separate video for that if there's interest. And for now, I hope this will prove useful, and good luck in the game.